Today, I want to take you on a journey, not just any journey, a journey to a country that felt like stepping into another world, a place where the signs were made of symbols I couldn't read, where the sounds around me were unfamiliar, and where I didn't know a single word of the language. This is the story of my first time traveling to Japan. But before we begin, I want you to imagine something. Imagine standing in front of a train map covered in characters you've never seen before. Imagine feeling hungry, but you can't read the menu. Imagine needing to ask for help, but your heart is beating fast because you're not sure if anyone will understand your English. That was me. Excited, nervous, and completely curious. In this video, I will speak slowly and clearly so you can relax and enjoy the story. You don't need to understand every word. Just listen, follow the feeling, let your mind travel with me. So, take a deep breath, close your eyes if you want, and let me take you to Japan. Before the trip, I spent weeks thinking about it. I would look at photos of Tokyo at night, bright lights, crowded streets, quiet temples hidden between modern buildings. I imagined myself walking there, but I also imagined the problems. I asked myself questions late at night. Will I be able to find my hotel? What if I get lost in the subway? What if someone asks me something in Japanese and I just stand there, silent? Will my English be enough? These thoughts were normal, and if you have ever felt nervous about using English, I understand. I felt the same way, but I also felt something stronger, curiosity. I wanted to see Japan. I wanted to taste the food. I wanted to walk through the narrow streets and visit old temples. So I decided, I will go, and I will use simple English. I will smile. I will do my best. On the morning of my flight, I woke up while the sky was still dark. My bag was packed. My passport was in my jacket pocket. I sat on the edge of my bed for a moment, and I said to myself, "This is new. This is my first time. I will take it step by step." The flight was long. Hours passed over oceans and mountains. I tried to sleep, but my mind was too excited. I watched a movie. I looked at the small screen showing the airplane moving across the map, slowly getting closer to Japan. When the announcement came that we would soon land, I pressed my face against the window. Below me, I saw green mountains and a long coastline. Then buildings appeared. So many buildings. The plane landed softly and I heard clapping from a few passengers. A man next to me smiled and said, "Welcome to Japan." I smiled back. My journey had truly begun. Stepping off the plane was like entering a different world. The air was clean and cool. The hallway was quiet. People walked calmly, and everyone seemed to follow an invisible order. I followed the signs. They had Japanese letters, beautiful, flowing characters. But underneath, there was English, arrivals, baggage claim, toilets. I read each one slowly. It helped me feel safe. When I reached the immigration area, I stood in line. The room was large and filled with travelers from all over the world. I could hear different languages around me: Spanish, Chinese, French, and of course Japanese. When it was my turn, I walked up to the counter. A friendly officer looked at my passport. He asked me a few questions in English. His voice was calm and clear. "Officer, how long will you be staying in Japan?" I said, 10 days. "Officer, is this your first visit?" I said, "Yes, it is." "Officer, enjoy your stay." I said, "Thank you." Short, simple. And it was done. I smiled to myself. My first real conversation in Japan had gone well. Next, I walked to baggage claim. My bag came out quickly. I picked it up and followed the signs to the exit. But then I stopped. I needed to find the train to Tokyo. The airport was huge and there were many doors. I looked around and saw a sign with a train symbol. I followed it. I found myself in front of a ticket machine. It had many buttons, all with Japanese text. A few had small English words. I stood there for a moment, feeling a little lost. There was a map above the machine showing train lines in different colors. I found the station where my hotel was, but I didn't know how much the ticket cost. I looked around and saw a help counter. A woman in a uniform was standing there, waiting to help. I walked up to her. Me. "Excuse me, I'm looking for this station." I showed her the name on my phone. She smiled and pointed to the machine. "This one. You buy ticket here." She showed me how to press the button for my station. Then she pointed to the price. 1,200 yen. I put my money in the machine. A ticket came out. Me. "Thank you so much." She bowed a little, and I bowed back. A little awkward, but it felt right. I learned something important in that moment. A simple question can open a door. Even when you don't speak the language, showing your phone and saying, "Excuse me," is enough. People are kind. They want to help. I walked to the platform and waited for the train. When it arrived, the doors opened and I stepped inside. The train was clean. The seats had soft fabric. The floor was spotless. And the most surprising thing, it was quiet. No one was talking on the phone. No loud conversations. Just the soft sound of the train moving. I sat near the window and watched the city pass by. First, we went through suburbs with small houses and narrow streets. Then tall buildings appeared. Tokyo was getting closer. When I arrived at my station, I followed the signs to the exit. I walked outside, pulling my suitcase behind me. The city air was cool. I looked up at the buildings around me, bright lights, signs with Japanese letters, small shops on the corners. I thought, I'm really here. This is Tokyo. My hotel was a few minutes from the station. The entrance was small, but warm light came from inside. When I walked in, a young woman at the front desk looked up and smiled. Receptionist. "Good evening. Welcome." I said, "Good evening. I have a reservation. My name is Sabi Kadam." She typed on her computer, then nodded. Receptionist. "Yes, I see it. You are here for 10 days?" I said, "Yes." Receptionist. "I need your passport, please." I gave it to her. Receptionist. "Here is your key. Your room is on the 5th floor. Breakfast is from 7 to 9 in the morning." I said, "Thank you." Receptionist. "If you need anything, please ask." I said, "I will. Thank you." I took the elevator to my room. When I opened the door, I smiled. The room was small but perfect. Clean, simple, with a window looking out at a quiet street. I put my bag down, sat on the bed, and took a deep breath. I had arrived. I had used English. I had succeeded. That night, I walked around the neighborhood. I didn't go far. I just wanted to feel the city. There were small restaurants with red lanterns outside. People walked home from work. The air smelled of grilled food and rain. I saw a vending machine on the corner, one of many in Japan. I put in a coin, pressed a button, and a cold green tea came out. I opened it and took a sip. It was sweet and refreshing. I smiled. No words needed for that. The next morning, I woke up early. I looked out the window. The city was already awake. People walked quickly to the station. Buses moved through the streets. I felt excited. Today, I would explore. I decided to visit a famous temple, Sensoji in Asakusa. I found my way to the subway station. The Tokyo subway is like a huge organized maze. There are many lines, many exits, but there are English signs everywhere. I followed the signs and found the right platform. When I arrived at Asakusa, I walked out of the station and saw something amazing. A huge red gate, called a torii, stood at the entrance to the temple grounds. Behind it, a long street filled with small shops. I walked slowly through the crowd. Shopkeepers called out in Japanese, offering snacks and souvenirs. I stopped at a stall selling rice crackers. I pointed to one and said, "This one, please." The woman handed it to me and I paid. She said something in Japanese and smiled. I didn't understand her words, but I understood her kindness. At the end of the street, the temple appeared. Old, wooden, beautiful. The roof curved upward like the wings of a bird. There was a large incense burner in front, and people were waving the smoke toward themselves. I watched quietly. I didn't know the customs, so I stood back and observed. Then I walked up to the main hall. I put a coin in the offering box, bowed twice, clapped twice, and made a wish. It felt peaceful. I felt connected to something bigger than words. After visiting the temple, I felt hungry. I walked back through the street and saw a small restaurant. Outside, there was a glass case with plastic models of every dish. This is very common in Japan. You can see exactly what the food looks like. I saw a bowl of ramen, noodles in a rich broth with slices of pork and green onions. It looked delicious. I walked inside. A man behind the counter shouted something. Later I learned it was "Irashimasu," welcome. I sat down at the counter. The menu had pictures, so I simply pointed to the ramen. Me. "This one, please." The man nodded and began to prepare it. When the bowl came, it was steaming hot. The smell was incredible. I took my chopsticks. I was a little clumsy at first, and tasted the broth. It was rich, salty, and warm. I ate slowly, enjoying every bite. When I finished, I wanted to say thank you. I remembered a word I had heard. Me. Arigato gozaimasu. The man smiled and nodded. Arigato. That was my first Japanese word. Arigato. Thank you. Saying it made the man smile. It made me feel good too. I learned that a single word can be a bridge. One afternoon, I decided to visit a famous garden. I looked at my map and started walking, but after a while I realized I was lost. The streets were narrow and the names were all in Japanese. I stopped at a corner and looked at my phone. Nothing looked familiar. I felt a little nervous. But then I remembered. I had asked for help before. I could do it again. I saw a woman walking her small dog. She looked friendly. I walked up to her, smiled, and showed her my phone. "Excuse me," I said. "I'm looking for this garden. Is it far from here?" She looked at my phone, then looked around. She smiled. "Ah, yes, it is close. You go straight, then turn left at the traffic light. 5 minutes." Straight, then left, I repeated, nodding. "Thank you so much." She gave a small nod. "You're welcome. Enjoy." I followed her directions, and sure enough, I found the garden. It was beautiful. Green trees, a calm pond, and people walking slowly along the paths. I sat on a bench for a while, listening to the birds and the soft sound of water. I thought about that moment. I used simple English and someone understood me. I didn't need perfect grammar. I didn't need a big vocabulary. I just needed to try, and trying made me feel confident. As the days passed, I had more small conversations. I bought a train ticket and said sumimasen, I said excuse me, when I needed to pass someone. I ordered food by pointing and saying kore o kudasai, this one please. I made mistakes. Sometimes I mixed up words, but every time people were patient. They smiled. They helped me. One evening I went to a small sushi bar. There were only 7 seats, and the chef was an old man with kind eyes. I sat down, and he placed a small plate in front of me. He said something in Japanese. I didn't understand, so I just nodded and smiled. He laughed gently and pointed to the sushi. I picked up a piece and ate it. It was the freshest fish I had ever tasted. Then he pointed to a piece and said, "Tuna." I repeated, "Tuna." He nodded and pointed to another. "Salmon." "Salmon," I said. He smiled and continued serving. By the end of the meal, I had learned 6 words for different kinds of fish. I said, "Arigato gozaimasu," when I left, and he bowed. That night, I walked back to my hotel feeling proud. I had learned something new. I had connected with someone without speaking perfect English or perfect Japanese. We used simple words, gestures, and smiles. It was enough. On my last day in Japan, I woke up early and went to a park near my hotel. The sun was rising and the city was still quiet. I walked along a path next to a small river. I saw people jogging, old people doing gentle exercises, and a man feeding the birds. I sat on a bench and thought about the past 10 days. I remembered how nervous I was when I arrived. I remembered standing in front of the ticket machine, confused. I remembered my first arigato and the smile it brought. Now, I felt different. I felt more confident, not because my English became perfect, it didn't, but because I had used it. I had made mistakes and survived. I had communicated and connected. I realized something important. English is not a test. It is a tool. A tool to ask for directions, a tool to order food, a tool to say thank you, and you don't need to be perfect to use it. You just need to be brave enough to try. As my trip ended, I sat in the train back to the airport. I looked out the window at the city I had learned to love, and I thought about you listening to this story. Maybe you are planning a trip. Maybe you are learning English. Maybe you feel nervous just like I did. If so, I want you to remember this. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Take small steps. Learn a few simple words. Say hello. Say thank you. Say excuse me. Point if you need to. Smile. People will understand. People will help. Learning a language is like traveling. At first, everything is unfamiliar, but with each step, the path becomes clearer. With each conversation, your confidence grows. So whether you travel to Japan or to New York or to the cafe down the street, use your English. Make mistakes. Laugh at yourself. Keep going. You are learning. You are growing. And that is a beautiful thing. Thank you for listening to this travel story. I hope it made you feel calm and curious and a little more confident. Take care of yourself and keep enjoying your English journey.